Have you ever felt uneasy around someone without understanding why? As if every conversation left you more tired, more unsure, and strangely empty, even when there was no argument, no overt conflict? You offer kindness. You stay patient. You even give more than you receive. And yet, each encounter leaves you feeling drained, insecure, and subtly diminished. The most troubling part? You keep going back. You tell yourself it's nothing. You pretend not to notice. But what if this is not an accident? There are people around you who smile to your face, yet silently resent your growth. They can't bear to see your light, so they do everything, quietly and cleverly, to dim it. They know exactly what they are doing. You don't. You, so focused on maintaining peace and appearing evolved, don't see the venom hidden behind the sweet words. You don't hear the dagger's master's jokes. You refuse to believe the subtle betrayal because facing it would be too painful. So you stay. You explain away their behavior. You accept scraps of affection because you're afraid of being alone. But enough is enough. This message isn't here to make you feel better. It's here to wake you up. If you suspect there are people in your life who secretly want to see you fall, this is your confirmation. The true danger isn't loud, it's disguised. It's the poison wrapped in affection. It's the compliment laced with resentment. It's the friend or family member whose embrace hides invisible thorns. Carl Jung called this phenomenon the projection of the shadow. When people, unable to face their own envy, anger, or insecurity, project it onto you. They don't attack you outright. They mock you with jokes, diminish your growth with fake concern, and guilt you for evolving beyond them. And the cruelest twist? When you finally pull away, they call you the villain, cold, ungrateful, distant. This is not love. This is control. This is emotional vampirism, disguised as care. And the first step to healing is seeing it clearly, without excuses, without minimizing, without denial. Your light threatens their darkness. And your first act of courage is to recognize it. It's comforting to believe that enemies are obvious, loud, hostile, easy to spot. But the truth is more unsettling. The real danger is quiet. It's hidden beneath smiles, jokes, and gestures of so-called support. The ones who sabotage you most skillfully often pretend to be your biggest supporters. They hide their envy behind compliments. They mask their bitterness with concern. They offer encouragement until your success starts to highlight their own failure. Carl Jung explained this through the concept of the shadow projection. When people refuse to confront their own dark emotions, jealousy, insecurity, resentment, they project those feelings onto others, onto you. They can't admit their own shortcomings. So they undermine you, subtly, surgically. It looks like the colleague who jokes about how lucky you are but never acknowledges your hard work. The family member who says, "You've really changed," weaponizing guilt against your growth. The friend who cheers for you until your achievements remind them of their own regrets. These people won't attack you directly. They know they can't. So they master a more lethal art, pretending to love you while quietly poisoning your self-belief. And here's where it becomes dangerous. You begin to doubt yourself. You question your feelings. You wonder if you're being paranoid, oversensitive, or unfair. But deep down, you know. You feel it. You just don't want to admit it, because to admit it means accepting a brutal truth. Someone you trusted, someone you loved, is secretly rooting for your downfall. And when you finally try to step away, the manipulation intensifies. They accuse you of being selfish, cold, distant. They play the victim, flipping the story to make you feel like the betrayer. This isn't affection. It's control. It's emotional parasitism disguised as empathy. But why do you allow it? Why do you stay in this toxic dance? That's the uncomfortable question we must now face. And it's where the real work of freedom begins. It's easy, almost instinctive, to point fingers at others. To say, they are toxic. They are envious. They are fake. But Carl Jung gave us a harder, deeper truth. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to a better understanding of ourselves. The problem is never just with them. If you keep attracting people who drain you, belittle you, sabotage you under the disguise of love, you must ask yourself, why? There is a part of you, hidden, wounded, unexamined, that allows this, that seeks it, that even needs it. Not because you are weak or foolish, but because you are caught in old, unconscious patterns. Patterns built from trauma, not choice. Maybe you grew up being told you had to always be available, always understanding, always the good one. Maybe you learned early that love was conditional, that you had to abandon yourself to be accepted. And so now, without even realizing it, you replay that script. You attract people who reinforce that old lie, that your worth is measured by your sacrifice. These people act like mirrors. They reflect the parts of you still afraid to say no, still desperate to be liked, still feeling guilty for setting boundaries. As long as you don't recognize this, you stay trapped. You mistake emotional imprisonment for friendship. You confuse loyalty with submission. You believe enduring silent suffering makes you strong, but it doesn't. It makes you complicit in your own destruction. Jung warned that the encounter with the true self is the scariest confrontation of all. Maybe that's why you stay so focused on their poison, because looking inward, facing your own wound, feels even more terrifying. But here's the hard truth. The cycle will not end until you end it. The people around you will not change. They exist to force you to change. Freedom begins the moment you stop blaming others and start reclaiming your power from within. And to do that, you must first understand the invisible damage they cause, the deep, silent toll on your mind, your body, and your soul. That's what we'll explore next. Pain isn't always loud. Sometimes it whispers. It seeps quietly into your mind, your body, and your spirit until you barely recognize yourself. Emotional draining rarely arrives with insults or open attacks. It comes through subtle erosion, a gaze heavy with silent judgment, a compliment that feels like a disguised criticism, a presence that, though seemingly affectionate, secretly wishes you would shrink. And that's the danger. They don't destroy you all at once. They do it little by little. First, they make you doubt a decision. Then, they question your confidence. Over time, you start censoring yourself, tiptoeing around their reactions, minimizing your wins, second-guessing your instincts. Until one day, you wake up, exhausted for no reason, anxious without cause, sad without understanding why. Your energy is gone. Not because of a battle you fought, but because of 1,000 battles you didn't even realize were happening. This silent war changes everything. Your mind becomes foggy and confused. Your body carries unexplained fatigue. Your spirit feels dimmed, heavy, isolated. You start comparing yourself to others. You wonder if you're becoming too sensitive, too emotional, too dramatic. But you're not. You are under attack. An invisible, psychological attack that Jung described when he spoke of the unseen energy fields between people. When you bond with someone filled with envy or repressed rage, your own energy field is contaminated, slowly, invisibly. You might try to rationalize it. You might excuse their behavior, empathize with their struggles, look for reasons to stay. But your body feels the truth. Your intuition screams it. Your spirit already knows. Still, many choose to silence that knowing. They stay. They adapt. They smile at the very people who are draining the life out of them, because confronting the truth feels too painful. But pretending costs you even more. Ignoring the whispers of your soul costs you everything. And now, you're standing at the crossroads. Will you keep sacrificing yourself to keep the peace? Or will you summon the courage to say, enough? Because courage, real courage, is exactly what you'll need for the next step. Facing the truth without flinching, and deciding what to do about it. There comes a moment, sudden, sharp, when the illusion shatters. You see them clearly. The smiles that never reached their eyes. The advice that always left you smaller. The emotional debt that no matter how much you paid, was never enough. Everything clicks into place. The passive-aggressive jokes. The subtle criticism hidden inside concern. The exhausting feeling that somehow you were always the one giving, apologizing, adjusting. The mask falls. The truth stands naked. And it cuts deep. At first, the realization is devastating. Because it's not about random strangers. It's about people you trusted. People you loved. But the second shock is even harder. Now that you know, what will you do? Most people get stuck here. They see the problem. But acting on it feels terrifying. Because action demands sacrifice. It means distancing yourself from people you once called family, friends, mentors. It means losing comfort, losing approval, losing old definitions of loyalty. You will hear their accusations. You're ungrateful. You're too cold. You've changed. And they're right. You have changed. Because growth demands it. Recognizing the pattern is just the beginning. It's meaningless unless followed by decisive action. You can read every book, watch every video, understand every psychological theory. But if you continue allowing access to those who wound you, nothing changes. Carl Jung said, "You do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." Seeing the toxicity is not enough. You must act on what you know. You must set boundaries that shake the very foundations of these false bonds. And be ready. When you start to pull away, they will fight back. They will shame you, guilt you, accuse you. Because they are not mourning your absence. They are mourning the loss of control. The real test isn't about recognizing the truth. The real test is standing firm when the guilt tries to pull you back. It will hurt. It will be lonely. But staying in the cycle will hurt even more. And cost you even more. This is the moment where you decide. Will you return to the familiar pain of old patterns? Or will you break free, even if it breaks your heart? Because in the next step, we'll learn not just how to recognize the pattern, but how to end it, once and for all. Walking away from someone who drains you is one of the hardest things you'll ever do. Not because you still believe they'll change, but because you've been conditioned to believe that walking away means you are cold, selfish, or ungrateful. You've been told that forgiveness is always noble, that enduring pain proves your strength, that maintaining relationships, no matter how damaging, is a sign of maturity. But here's the truth no one dares to say. Enduring the unbearable isn't maturity. It's complicity in your own destruction. Distancing yourself is not weakness. It's not cruelty. It's self-respect. It's recognizing that not every bond deserves to be preserved. That some connections are not bridges, they are chains. Carl Jung taught us that true healing, true individuation, requires letting go. It demands we break silent pacts with those who keep us small. And breaking free requires 3 critical steps. Number 1. Emotional detachment. Stop explaining. Stop justifying. Stop trying to fix what was never yours to fix. They know what they're doing. They just never imagined you would wake up and stop playing along. In these moments, silence is your greatest weapon. Silence drains their control. Silence dismantles their manipulations. Silence protects your soul. Number 2. Setting boundaries without guilt. Maybe you can't cut ties immediately. Maybe they are family, colleagues, or people in your daily life. That's okay. But you can, and must, control access to your inner world. You can limit conversations. You can refuse emotional exposure. You can shield your energy. Not every relationship deserves intimacy. Not every person earns your vulnerability. Number 3. Prepare for loneliness. It will come. The void left behind when you cut off toxic bonds is real, and it is frightening. but it is also the birthplace of new strength. In that space of solitude, your true self begins to emerge. Your voice gets louder. Your intuition sharpens. Your heart heals. Because distancing is only half the journey. The other half is what you build inside that empty space. And that's where your transformation truly begins. Leaving isn't about revenge. It's not about proving anything to them. It's about finally protecting yourself with the same fierce love you've always offered to others. And once you do, your absence will echo louder than any confrontation ever could. That's what we'll explore next. The power of walking away and the freedom it unleashes. When you finally step away from those who drained you, something extraordinary happens. Not just within you, but all around you. At first, there is silence. An empty, aching quiet where manipulation once echoed. It feels strange, uncomfortable, almost unbearable. But that silence is not your enemy. It is your liberation. Your absence echoes louder than any confrontation ever could. Because now, for the first time, they are left to face what they always hid behind your presence. Their own emptiness, their own guilt, their own fear. Without you there to absorb their projections, to soothe their insecurities, to carry emotional weight that was never yours. The game collapses. The truth rises from the ruins. That what they called love was control. That what looked like admiration was resentment. That what seemed like connection was imprisonment. But this journey isn't about them anymore. It's about you. It's about rebuilding yourself, piece by piece, with awareness, with strength, with unshakable self-respect. You start living your own life again. You say no without guilt. You listen to yourself first. You trust your intuition, that voice you once silenced to keep the peace. You remember who you were before you made yourself smaller for others. You owe nothing to those who tried to diminish you. What you owe is to yourself: respect, clarity, protection. And from the moment you stop dancing their emotional dance, you take back control. You break free. But beware, leaving is not the end. It's only the beginning. Because the real work comes after. When you decide not to fill the empty space with more distractions, more toxic bonds, more compromises. You must fill it with yourself, with your dreams, with your peace, with your authenticity. Your healing is not found in replacing people. It's found in rediscovering your own soul. This is the path of individuation Jung spoke of, becoming wholly, fiercely yourself. It is a lonely road at first, but on it, you will find the only true freedom there is. The freedom to be who you were always meant to be. Choose it, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. Because staying in the comfort of old chains may seem easier, but it costs you your soul. And your soul was never meant to be a prisoner.